Right now, beneath the streets of California, something catastrophic is happening. A fault line that scientists thought was dormant has just cracked open. This is not a drill. Emergency geological teams are on site, and what they're seeing is terrifying. A fresh rupture, miles long, splitting the ground in areas that were never supposed to move. Seismic monitors are screaming. Experts are using words like unprecedented and unpredictable. The question isn't if something massive is coming, it's when, and California has no idea what's about to hit. The call comes in at 4:47 a.m. A ranger in the Mojave Desert reports a sound like thunder, but the sky is clear. By sunrise, helicopter footage confirms what geologists feared most: a visible surface rupture, jagged and deep, tearing through the desert floor for over 12 miles. The crack is fresh, dust still rises from its edges. This is the San Andreas Fault, and it has just moved in a way no model predicted. Within hours, the United States Geological Survey convenes an emergency briefing. The room is tense. Senior seismologists are reviewing data that doesn't make sense. The rupture occurred along a segment classified as low risk, a stretch of the fault that hasn't produced a major quake in over 300 years. But the instruments don't lie. The ground shifted, the crack is real, and the energy release suggests something far larger is building beneath the surface. One scientist leans forward, her voice barely steady. This isn't an isolated event, this is a trigger. News crews arrive by mid-morning. Drones capture the rupture from above, a dark scar slicing through the pale desert. Geologists on the ground measure the displacement. In some areas, the land has shifted nearly 4 feet horizontally. Vertical offsets reveal layers of earth that haven't seen daylight in millennia. This isn't erosion, this isn't weathering, this is tectonic violence, sudden and raw. The fault line runs for 800 miles through California, from the Salton Sea to Cape Mendocino. It's the boundary between the Pacific Plate and the North American Plate, grinding past each other at roughly 2 inches per year. For decades, scientists have warned that stress is accumulating. The southern segment, near Los Angeles and San Diego, is overdue for a massive release. But this new rupture is in the central section, a zone that was supposed to relieve pressure gradually through smaller tremors. Instead, it is torn open all at once. By noon, seismometers across the state register a disturbing pattern. Aftershocks, dozens of them, radiating outward from the rupture site. Most are minor, magnitude 3 or below, but their frequency is alarming. Normally, aftershocks decay over days. These are intensifying. Seismic stations in Bakersfield, Fresno, and Ridgecrest record spikes in microquake activity. The fault is not settling, it's waking up. Emergency management agencies issue cautionary alerts. The language is careful, measured, but the subtext is clear. Prepare for something bigger. Hardware stores across Southern California see a rush on bottled water, flashlights, batteries. Gas stations form lines. Schools begin reviewing evacuation protocols. Parents pull children from daycare early. The fear is spreading faster than the official warnings. In Palmdale, a city built directly over a branch of the San Andreas, residents feel the ground trembling underfoot. It's subtle, like a truck passing, but it doesn't stop. Windows rattle, hanging plants sway, dogs bark incessantly. A local dispatcher reports a 300% increase in calls about strange vibrations. City engineers inspect infrastructure, overpasses, water mains, power lines. Everything looks intact, but the unease is palpable. The ground is moving, and no one knows when it will stop. Scientists deploy mobile seismic arrays near the rupture. The data they collect is chilling. The fault is slipping episodically, short, rapid bursts of movement followed by brief pauses. This behavior is known as creep, but the velocity is abnormal. Typically, fault creep is slow, almost imperceptible. This is aggressive, pulsing, like a heartbeat. Some researchers suggest it's a precursor, a sign that the locked sections of the fault are nearing failure. If the central rupture propagates southward, it could trigger the big one, a magnitude 8 or greater earthquake capable of leveling cities. Satellite imagery reveals surface deformation spreading beyond the initial crack. Interferometric analysis shows ground warping across a 40-mile radius. Fields buckle. Road surfaces develop hairline fractures. Railroad tracks near Tehachapi show slight misalignment. Engineers flag the California Aqueduct, a critical water supply artery that crosses the fault zone. If the aqueduct ruptures during a major quake, millions in Los Angeles and San Diego lose access to fresh water within days. By late afternoon, the governor calls a press conference. His tone is firm but strained. We are monitoring the situation closely. Emergency services are on high alert. We urge all Californians to review their earthquake preparedness plans. Behind him, a map glows on a screen, the fault line highlighted in red. The rupture site blinks like a wound. Reporters shout questions. How big could this get? Is an evacuation necessary? The governor doesn't answer directly. He repeats the word monitoring 5 times in 3 minutes. In San Bernardino, a structural engineer named Monica reviews blueprints of her apartment building. It was built in 1987, before the latest seismic codes. She calculates the building's resonance frequency, matches it against historical quake data. The numbers are bad. If a magnitude 7 hits nearby, her building will sway beyond its design limits. She starts packing a go bag. Documents, medications, cash. Her neighbors think she's overreacting. She hopes they're right. Underground, the fault zone is a labyrinth of fractured rock, ancient sediment, and immense pressure. Every year, tectonic forces compress the plates, storing elastic energy. When the friction holding the plates together finally fails, that energy releases in seconds. The 1906 San Francisco earthquake ruptured a 296-mile stretch of the fault. The ground shook for 45 seconds. Buildings collapsed. Fires raged for days. Over 3,000 people died. The southern San Andreas has been silent since 1680. The energy stored there is staggering. Seismologists at Caltech run simulations through the night. The models vary, but the worst-case scenarios converge on a terrifying outcome. If the central rupture propagates south and connects with the locked southern segment, California could experience a cascading failure. A magnitude 8.2 earthquake, followed by a magnitude 7.5 hours later, then a swarm of magnitude 6 events across secondary faults. The shaking could last over 2 minutes. Soil liquefaction would turn stable ground into quicksand. Landslides would bury highways. Coastal areas near the Salton Sea could subside by several feet. Emergency planners game out the logistics. Hospitals brace for mass casualties. Trauma bays stock supplies. Blood banks issue urgent donation requests. The California National Guard preps mobile command units. FEMA stages supply caches near major cities. But everyone knows the truth. If the big one hits, the response will be overwhelmed within hours. There aren't enough ambulances. There aren't enough shelters. There aren't enough body bags. In downtown Los Angeles, office workers glance nervously at the skyscrapers around them. Modern towers are engineered to flex during earthquakes, absorbing energy through dampers and flexible joints. But the older buildings, the ones built in the 1960s and 70s, are brittle. Unreinforced masonry, weak connections. Engineers have warned for years that a major quake will collapse hundreds of structures. The death toll could reach tens of thousands in minutes. On the Pacific Coast Highway, a traffic camera captures something surreal. The asphalt develops a crack, slow and silent, like ice breaking on a frozen lake. A driver slows, filming on her phone. The crack widens. Pebbles fall into the gap. Within an hour, the highway is closed. Caltrans engineers arrive, bewildered. The crack runs parallel to the coastline, suggesting movement on a subsidiary fault no one knew was active. By evening, social media explodes with reports. Families in San Diego feel tremors. A sinkhole opens in Riverside. A well in Imperial County suddenly runs dry. Geologists scramble to verify each claim, but the sheer volume is overwhelming. The fault system is vast, interconnected, and poorly understood. Every anomaly could be a warning. Every tremor could be a prelude. Scientists deploy drones equipped with thermal cameras. They search for heat signatures along the fault. Friction generates warmth, and active faults often show thermal anomalies. The data reveals hotspots, areas where the rock is grinding intensely just below the surface. One researcher flags a zone near the Salton Sea where temperatures are spiking. "It's like watching a fuse burn," she whispers. In Mexicali, just across the border, residents feel the tremors too. The fault doesn't respect boundaries. The Cerro Prieto Fault, an extension of the San Andreas system, runs beneath the city. A magnitude 7 here would devastate both nations. Mexican and American agencies coordinate, but resources are limited. If disaster strikes, the response will be fragmented, chaotic. Night falls, and the rupture site is illuminated by floodlights. Geologists work in shifts, planting sensors, collecting samples. The crack is still growing, millimeters per hour, but relentless. One team member kneels beside the fissure, peering into the darkness below. The walls are smooth, polished by ancient movement. This fault has ruptured before, many times, and it will rupture again. Across California, families sit in living rooms, watching news updates. The anchors try to sound calm, but their eyes betray fear. Experts are interviewed, their answers careful, hedging. It's too early to say. We're monitoring closely. Residents should remain vigilant. No one says what everyone is thinking. This could be it. Seismic data from the past 72 hours is analyzed, reanalyzed. Patterns emerge. Small quakes cluster in regions that haven't moved in decades. Stress is redistributing, seeking weak points. The fault system is a network, and pressure in one area can load another. If the Garlock Fault, which intersects the San Andreas, activates simultaneously, the compounded destruction would be unimaginable. In a lab at UC Berkeley, a seismologist stares at a graph. The strain accumulation curve is steep, steeper than any model predicted. He runs the numbers again. The margin of error is small. Statistically, a major event is not just likely, it's imminent. He reaches for his phone, hesitates. Who does he call? What does he say? The data is clear, but certainty is impossible. Emergency broadcasts interrupt regular programming. The messages are repetitive. Secure heavy furniture, know your evacuation routes, keep supplies ready. Some people comply, others ignore the warnings, numb from years of false alarms. California has lived under the shadow of the big one for generations. Complacency is epidemic. But this time feels different. The crack is visible. The fault has moved. Scientists are alarmed. The word unprecedented appears in every briefing. Geologists who have spent careers studying the San Andreas admit they've never seen this behavior. The fault is unpredictable, volatile, and angry. By midnight, a swarm of magnitude 4 quakes rattles the Coachella Valley. Residents flee their homes, standing in streets, afraid to go back inside. A gas line ruptures, sparking a small fire quickly extinguished. Power flickers across the region. Cell towers overload from the surge in calls. The infrastructure is fragile, built for normalcy, not catastrophe. A mayor in a small desert town holds an emergency meeting. Evacuation is discussed, but where would people go? The highways are bottlenecks, hotels are full, shelters are insufficient. The logistics of moving tens of thousands are staggering. The decision is deferred, but time is running out. Deep beneath the surface, the Pacific Plate grinds against North America, relentless and indifferent. The forces involved are planetary, beyond human comprehension. Mountains rise from this collision, ocean floors subduct, continents drift, and occasionally the Earth shrugs, and cities fall. Scientists can't predict earthquakes. They can only measure probability. Right now, the probability is rising. Every hour, more data pours in. Every hour, the models grow darker. The fault has cracked open. The rupture is spreading, and somewhere below, in the darkness of the crust, stress is building toward a breaking point. California holds its breath. The news cycle churns. Experts debate. Politicians reassure. But no one knows what happens next. The ground is moving. The fault is alive. And the big one, California's ultimate nightmare, might already be unfolding. The crack remains open, silent and waiting. A wound in the earth that refuses to heal.